So why don't you tell me a little bit about 10 years ago? I mean, where you were when you came in, like where Lakeside was then and where it is now.
Sure. So when we started, it was really just me and Dan. We didn't, we knew what we wanted to do. We wanted to build an entertainment group that focused on managing artists, radio promotion, marketing, and development. And then we kind of noticed that there's so many artists out there that need label services, that aren't signed to labels, that, need digital development, their websites built, marketing, promotion, pretty much everything that a label would provide, and trying to provide those services in like an a la carte way where they can say, hey, this is what we're looking to do. This is the budget. How can we achieve this? So we kind of format every project differently depending on what the artists need. And so now, I guess it's been about 7 years. So 7 years later, it's really developed. We have a larger team. We work with a lot of artists across all different parts in their career. We have major label partnerships with Island Records, Atlantic, and we also work with developing artists that are unsigned, don't have management, just kind of trying to get their feet off the ground.
Talk to me about the partnerships with the major labels. I didn't really get to talk about that with Dan or with our last guest.
Sure.
Eric.
Yeah. So our partnerships with major labels, what we do is they hire us as a third-party company to work radio promotion, mostly top 40 and hot AC, depending on the project. So what we do is we take their budget and then we go to top 40 radio, we set up events, we try and get as much airplay as possible. Most of those are pretty competitive budgets, which range up to like $100,000 for one song. So it's pretty substantial. And then a lot of times we do social media for the artists as well, just helping them kind of curate their aesthetic and plan out their posts and things like that as well. But yeah, we've been doing that since the beginning because Dan, as you guys know, had a lot of background at major labels before he went independent.
Someone's got a new song out. They want to push this new song. What's the kind of process that a upcoming artist would have to go through to kind of like get in place, and then what kind of work would you do for them?
Okay, yeah. So usually we ask artists to kind of come to us before they have a release date set, just because a lot of times people come and they say, hey, I have this song coming out in 2 weeks, like, let's get started. And we're kind of like, well, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. You're not really giving yourself enough lead time to even get started. So usually what we ask for is at least kind of 2 months ahead of time to be aware of the project coming out. And then from there, we can kind of evaluate, okay, what's your budget? What are your goals? If your goals are like, you want social media, you want TikTok, or if you want streaming, Spotify, Pandora, like kind of what is your ultimate goal and what's your budget and how can we achieve that together? So it's kind of evaluating the whole, like your whole artist history, seeing what coverage you've had in the past. If you had a lot of press coverage, making sure that we have those contacts and we can reach out to them and build on that and get other targets. We also make sure that every artist submits everything at least 6 to 8 weeks ahead of time for distribution, because right off the bat, if you don't do that, you're not going to be considered for editorial playlisting, which is really important, obviously. And then we put a social media plan together. We can run an audit on your accounts if you have a strong following already, kind of telling us when the best time for you to post is, what's the most interaction that you're getting, and then seeing what you need help with. So a lot of times artists are just focusing on one platform, which is great, but you kind of want to diversify and have a presence across all platforms following best practices, and every platform is different. So it's really evaluating what you have going on already, looking at what your goals are, and then we put a plan together that kind of hits every single point. So marketing and promotion, if that's just radio, if we're going to reach out to blogs, help develop your social media presence, work with playlisting, kind of everything across the board that you can think of, we try to cover and make sure that you are doing the best, like putting your best possible foot forward.
Everyone's got access to DistroKid, and everyone's got access to CD Baby, and everyone can load as many songs up as they want. But maybe it's gotten to a point where it's just so oversaturated that the people in charge aren't necessarily looking just at the numbers in acting. And they're looking for quality performers and quality performances. Do you see that trend coming over to the music world, or is this just maybe a niche market in acting right
I would say I definitely see that trend coming over to music. I think for developing artists, like anyone can go and find a company and say like, hey, I'm going to pay you $1,000, get me 100,000 followers. But what does that really mean? Like that doesn't really equate to anything valuable for you or for us or for your audience. It's kind of like it really messes up kind of your whole artist development story. And you then have to work backwards. Like once you've purchased 100,000 followers or something like that, then to delete all those followers, like you're pretty much, I personally don't think you should ever take any shortcut like that. I always think that organic growth is the most important thing and that the numbers aren't as important as your engagement. So if you're getting really high engagement rates, and on every platform, what they consider to be high is different, that's really what matters. So like if you send out a post and 100 people are going to look at it and be engaged with it and care about what you say, that's way more valuable than sending out a post and 100,000 people see it, but all those people aren't necessarily within the demographic or mean anything. So like a lot of times, especially with Instagram and micro influencer campaigns and advertising. So if I'm like a jewelry company and there's a girl out there who has like 100,000 followers and I want her to wear my jewelry, but all of her followers are bots in another country, that doesn't help me at all. If I pay her X amount of money to wear my jewelry, do a couple of posts, and she does that, great, she got paid. That worked for her. But for my jewelry line, it didn't gain any additional exposure. So companies are finding that now, like they're catching on that there are fake accounts and that your numbers can be boosted through all different sorts of ways. And so there's no real value in having a high number if your engagement is low. So, and I mean, at least at Lakeside, we've had that kind of understanding for a couple of years now, and we've seen it trending that way. So I feel that it's going to continually move in that direction.